Thanks to everybody for coming out. Don't know how much time we have, but, man, we got a lot to talk about. First of all, from a signing day standpoint, I thought today was a fantastic day, or has been a fantastic day. Really, first of all, just want to thank everyone in our program for all of their hard work during this. Obviously, our players that do a great job of hosting these prospects when they come on campus for visits. We can sell our program as much as we want, but the best recruiters we have are our own players. So I appreciate them and their hard work, our coaches and their hard work, graduate assistants, everybody here, Taylor Edwards and Drew Hickson that head up our player personnel department, Jessica Jackson and her entire team, Joe Lyle in video for the role that he plays in recruiting, Kristen Coggin down in nutrition and what she does for recruiting, George Wynn, Kim Fields, Clint Haggard in the training room, Luke Day in the weight room, Larry Waters in the equipment room, everybody in the Doty Academic Center, Justin King and Zach Frazee for their amazing videos, Derek Moore, Connor Shaw, and on and on and on. And I'm sure I've left someone out, and I apologize. But it really is a team effort, and it's not just a prospect and his family come on campus for a visit and the coaches hang out with them. I mean, it's this entire organization. When one prospect comes to campus, we're all involved. And with this class, it's unique because June was the first time these young men that signed today were able to visit our campus and have contact with us. So really for the first 6-7 months that I got hired, every conversation with them was either on a cell phone or on a Zoom virtual visit. And those were some late nights that we had doing these virtual visits back in January, February, March, and April and May before they were able to visit. And we did those virtual visits. All those people that I just named were involved in those visits somehow. So really appreciate their time, and really it's funny going back. A lot of these guys that we're talking about, the first contact we ever had with them was on a virtual visit over Zoom. So to have them signed today is really awesome, and I think it's a great testament to these young men that we signed, that other than Xavier Short, DeAndre Martin, Stone Blanton, and Brian Thomas, pretty much every single guy was committed to us this summer and stayed committed to us, which is not easy to do through the ups and downs of our season, through other schools coming after these prospects throughout the season. A lot of those guys that I just named had multiple either SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10 programs coming after them here in the last week alone that we had to, fight off, and those guys never wavered. And I think it's a great testament to what the young men that we signed are about. You win with people, and I believe we've signed a fantastic group of people today, first and foremost. I mean, you talk about 5 of these guys either played or won or are about to play for a state championship. Got 9 different states represented in this class. 4 guys nationally recognized as either an Under Army or Army All-American. Love being able to get guys on campus and evaluate them in person. And we had 9 of these guys attended our summer camp this summer, and we had a chance to actually work with them. 10 of them are multi-sport athletes at their high school, doing well academically. All these guys are fantastic students and will have no problem excelling here at the University of South Carolina. And it's a great group of just guys that have great competitive spirit about them, that are winners, that want to be here at Carolina, and are guys that I'm convinced we can build with and continue to advance this program. And want to thank our fan base as well. I mean, the great job that they do. I say it during these press conferences during the season, and it's true. The atmosphere in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none. And so many of these prospects, Stone Blanton, for example, was in our stadium for the Eastern Illinois game and was in our stadium for the Clemson game. And that made an impact on him. And that made an impact on a lot of these guys that we signed today. So thank you to our fans for the best home field advantage in all of college football. And we told all these recruits that we signed that, that atmosphere that we had out there for Florida and Auburn and Clemson, that's the norm here. And you guys coming to Carolina can make that a reality every single week and even better. You think that environment was good for the last game of the season. Wait till you see it when we're nationally ranked, and we got nationally ranked teams coming in here, and we're competing for SEC championships with you guys. And I believe that wholeheartedly. So thank our fans for the amazing environment they created in Williams-Brice Stadium week in, week out. I really want to get on Phil right now for walking in a few minutes late, but I won't. Thank our fans, for that as well. And then also just the social media. I mean, obviously, South Carolina football was the talk of the nation, I think, on social media. What was that, Monday night, I guess, and that resonated with a lot of prospects across the country as well. So thank our fans, for that one as well. And I'm sure you guys will talk or ask about all these individual guys and what individually, but so I'm not going to go through each and every one, but really excited about the group of people, the type of players they are, the type of competitors they are, the winners they are. And South Carolina football, we got better today. And again, signing day, there's always a lot of buzz and stuff at the end with who signs on signing day, but let's not lose sight of who we beat to get these guys committed back in the summertime, that we also were able to keep them Gamecocks for the last 6, 7, 8 months up until signing day, which I'm excited about as well, and speaks volumes about what they're about as people as well. So got guys that want to be Gamecocks, which I'm excited about, and couldn't be more fired up about this class, this bowl game, and where this program is going. So with that, I'll be glad to take any questions y'all have.
Shane, I know all the freshmen coming in have, their own, skill sets and talents that you're excited about, but of course, Monday night's announcement about Spencer and Stogner coming in. How did that come together? I mean, obviously you guys had a relationship, but how did it go from I'm entering the portal to I want to come to Columbia?
Yeah, Austin, I obviously coached. I was his tight ends coach, and if you walk in my office right now, there's a picture hanging up of the tight ends that I coached at Oklahoma after we beat Texas last season in 4 overtimes in Dallas, and us on the field after the game. And I've told you guys that I've got great relationships with anybody that I've coached anywhere, and Austin is no different. So when he went in the portal, whenever that was, 2 weeks ago, I think it was the Tuesday night after the Clemson game, I believe. He went in the portal. His dad reached out immediately that they were interested in visiting. Jessica Jackson got him a flight booked in about 1 hour, and they were all set to come to Columbia, and they were here shortly thereafter. And then Stog had a great visit here with his mom and dad. While they were here on the visit, I believe it was his dad mentioned if you had any contact with Spencer, and I said no. I mean, I figured Spencer kind of had his choice of schools of anywhere in the country and was looking to maybe get back closer to the West Coast since that's where he's from. And I said, Spencer knows I'm here, and I love Spencer, but I haven't, really pursued him. And he's like, well, you ought to talk to him. I think he may have some interest. And we connected, shortly thereafter. And I know there were rumors that Spencer visited here. Spencer did not visit here. I did not get on a plane and go to Arizona. Literally, it was some phone conversations, and we did one of those virtual visits where he had a chance to meet everybody in the program. Stog coming here on a visit and seeing how amazing this place is, what his influence on Spencer and what he told Spencer about this place. And that's one thing Spencer told me, because we were going to, I talked to Spencer about visiting, and he said, I don't need to. He's like, I know you and everything that Stog told me about the place, I don't need to come see it. I mean, Stog's that impressed with it. And we just continued to talk. And, the Spencer's time frame for making a decision kept getting closer, quicker and quicker. At one point, it was going to be around Christmas time, and then it was going to be in a couple weeks, and then it was going to be in a couple days, and then a couple days turned into right now. And it was pretty cool. On Monday night, I got a call from Stog's dad, and I answered the phone, and Spencer's dad and Stog's dad were all on the call, and they told me they were coming, and had to step outside and scream, so I didn't scare anybody in my own house. But it was exciting. But I think it's like I told our players, it's an opportunity to make our team better, and that's my job ultimately as the head coach, and also to bring in quality people into this program as well. And I know what Spence and Stog are about, and excited about them going forward.
I guess with the other quarterbacks of note, with Braden Davis, could you just kind of speak to him a little bit? And with Jason Brown declaring he was entering the portal too, could you also address that as well?
Yeah. As far as Braden, a winner, just won the state championship Saturday up in Delaware. Beat Debo Williams' school, so we've been giving Debo a hard time about that as well because they're rivals. But no, Braden's just a really, really talented guy. He's a winner. He fantastic, family. Dad obviously played football at the University of Tennessee and was a great player there. So he comes from an athletic background. Really just impressive as a person. His intelligence at the quarterback position. His size, 6'5", every bit of it, and growing, close to 200 pounds right now. He can run, and he's gotten better as a passer in the last year as well. You can tell how hard he's worked at it as well. So I'm excited. He's got a huge upside, in my opinion. I was up there last Wednesday or Thursday and was there as they were getting ready to practice for the state championship game, and just a great leader, great player, and fired up about his potential as a quarterback, and then here at South Carolina. And then in regards to Jason and I have met multiple times over the last couple days, and met with Jason again this morning. He came in before we started meetings, and he just felt like a fresh start would be what was best for him, and wish him well. I told Jason I don't want him going anywhere. I want Jason to stay here and compete and continue to write his story here at the University of South Carolina, because it's a fantastic story that he's already started to write with what he did here in the month of November, being the starting quarterback and helping to lead us to wins over Florida and Auburn, and then getting bowl eligible. I hope our fans, because I know I do, appreciate how he's worked since he's got here, how he's improved as a quarterback, the unselfishness that he showed, the way he played down the stretch, and did some great things for us. So I don't want him going anywhere, and he just felt like the best thing for him was just a fresh start, which I certainly understand, and I met with all the quarterbacks, not just Jason. I met with all those guys when the news with Spencer broke, but Jason felt like that was the best thing for him, so he's working through things right now, and we're here to help in any way.
Coach, focusing on the defensive side, Stone Blanton, what does he add immediately to that position group, and also how are you guys able to convince him that this was going to be the right fit for him when he was already thinking about going somewhere else originally?
Yeah, love what Stone's about. Another state champion, won a state championship in Mississippi at his school. Great family. He's a heck of a player. He's got the toughness, the mindset, everything that you need, the athleticism to be a great linebacker, and he is certainly a thumper. And I can remember watching his tape for the first time and just how impressed I was with him. And I think, honestly, relationships, I think, were the key, and as it kept going on and on and on, you kept saying, man, is this guy really going to lead the state of Mississippi when he's got Ole Miss and Mississippi State after him, not just for football, but for baseball also as well? And he came on his official visit in the summertime. I knew he loved it. And then he came back on his own for the Eastern Illinois game. I knew he loved it. And then you don't know as the season goes on and it gets closer and closer to signing day. And then I can remember Clayton White telling me before the Clemson game, hey, Stone's coming this weekend. And I remember thinking, dang, if he's coming back for a second time on his own dime, he must really like this place. And that was really cool that he came back. And I think that's just the biggest thing. Clayton and the defensive staff and then myself, we just really worked hard, or not worked hard, but it was just easy to develop a relationship and a rapport with his family. And, giving assist to my wife, who's from Starkville, Mississippi, being a fellow Mississippian, she certainly helped the process. And my in-laws who live in Starkville were a big help as well, just supporting, having great Mississippians there to support Stone as well, and just love what he's about. He's a fantastic young man. Coach Kingston got him a heck of a baseball player as well, and certainly appreciate Mark and the baseball staff, their help with this as well. I I was in Atlanta last Friday for the Georgia High School State Championships, and while I was there, I was on the phone with Coach Kingston, just talking about Stone and some other young men that play baseball and football that we both are recruiting. So really appreciative of that relationship with the baseball staff, and that's one thing that we've talked to Stone about is playing baseball and football. We have a great relationship with them. I was at Oklahoma when Kyler Murray played football and baseball, so I saw how we were able to make that work, and that it'll be an easy transition for him, and super excited that Stone's a Gamecock.
Shane, I'm sure you want to focus on the players that did sign today or have committed, but I'd be remiss not to ask you, what kind of transpired since Saturday with Jay Barham, and what kind of led to his decision to decommit from South Carolina today?
You'd have to ask the young man that you're referring to. I can't say that it's a surprise when this particular young man committed on Saturday. About 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from somebody in the know up there that said, just so you know, it's all part of the plan. He's going to flip on Wednesday and go to Maryland. So I can't sit here and tell you that I was shocked. But when you're on the phone with a young man as late as 10:30, 11 o'clock last night, and he and the mom are telling you how they're so thankful they found a home, how appreciative they are of how we do things, how they knew that South Carolina was the place for him on his very first visit to South Carolina, and how excited they are for the future, you feel pretty good about things. So certainly with the young man you're referring to, some strange things happened overnight, which, that's a story for another day. But again, we got the right people here in this program that signed today, guys that you can win with, and you win with people, and we certainly got the right guys here today, that's for sure.
And Shane,
oh, you're good. What you got, Mike?
And I was told, I know it's a normal team meeting that you guys meet, but I was told yesterday you met with the team and continued to harp on the fact of, this program is going to be built through competition.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the majority of the players received that well. Outside of Jason, and that's not to say that, he's not a guy that wants to compete. Has there been any players since then that have come to you expressing, either concerns or, potentially could be looking to enter the portal once the season ends?
No. And my door's open, and that's the thing. So backing up, we did have a team meeting yesterday, and I had all the guys that transferred in that from last year to this year stand up. It's name guys that made meaningful impacts on our football team this year. And I told them, last year we added these guys to the roster and we competed, and we brought in Jordan Strawn, and he went right to work competing to make Jordan Birch and JJ and Aaron Sterling better. And we brought in David Spalding and Carlins Patel, and they started competing and making those other guys better. So we're always going to be about competition and competing. And I think our players, understand that. Zaquandre called me this afternoon just to tell me how stoked the team is, about what's transpired this week and how excited they are for the future and things like that, which I appreciate. And then anybody from here that's entered the portal, they don't have to tell me anything. I could be scrolling Twitter and see that somebody from my team's in the transfer portal. That could be potentially the first time I've heard about it, and thank God, knock on wood, that hasn't happened yet. Anybody that's gone in the portal, I've had great conversations with, and they've been very, very open and honest and great. Whether it be the guys last week or a couple guys this week. So no, I have not, and I think our guys, based on the way they've practiced the last 3 days, are really excited about where we are and where we're going as a program.
Hey, Shane, you kind of touched on it in your opening statement, but it's been a long time since this program has been in the national spotlight from a recruiting standpoint like it was Monday night. I was wondering if you could just quantify what kind of the hype and momentum a player like Spencer Rattler brings to this recruiting class going into next season.
Yeah, it's a lot of it. I think for one, it's just it's a great statement nationally about this program and the way that young men view it. The fact that, Spencer and Austin, they could have gone anywhere in the country. Austin was on a visit to Ohio State last weekend. He was at Iowa State before that. Spencer, I'm sure, could have chosen his school, and they chose to come to South Carolina, and you better have more than just a relationship with the head coach to choose a school. They better believe, they want to win, and they have to believe that you can win at the highest level here, and they do. So to me, regardless of their names and where they're coming from, it's a great statement about how they view our program. And as soon as they announced the other night, I mean, my phone is blowing up with younger 2023 class of 23 recruits that we'll be talking about a year from now in this room, texting me about that the buzz and the excitement that they generated as well. So I think it's just we were certainly trending the other night, to say the least, and appreciate those guys and their belief in us. And I know Austin and Spencer, they're eager to get in here and compete. Nothing's going to be handed to them to get in here and compete with the rest of the team. And any success we had this season was because of the way that we came together as a group, the way that we came together as a team. And the only way we're going to have success when Spencer and Austin and anybody else that we may add to this program from the transfer portal going forward is going to take place. That success is coming in here and coming together as a team, which is what those guys are going to do as soon as they get here.
Yeah, Shane, if you don't mind, I think you signed 6 defensive backs today. If you don't mind giving a quick highlight on each of those guys and maybe also sharing where you see them starting out at. I know you'll want to get them on campus and see them, but corner safety, how you view them? Yeah,
we haven't gotten into all that, John, as far as corner safeties. I think the thing with these guys is they're all flexible and they have the position to do some multiple things in the secondary. Peyton Williams comes from a great program, out in Texas that, Justin Stepp had some ties to, and Peyton visited in the summertime. Great family and a big body guy that can go back there. And, he is the one you're probably looking at, more as a safety starting out. That's one that, I'd say that's for sure, where he would be to start. Anthony Rose, really, excited about him. When I met with you guys a couple weeks ago and told you I'd been down in Miami for lunch, I was having lunch at Denny's with him and his granddad, right across the street from the Dolphins stadium. So had a fantastic meal with him, and what a player he is, and he's got size, that confidence, that edge that you have to have. He obviously was committed, then decommitted, and then committed again, and really excited about his future here as well. Another one, highly recruited, Keenan Nelson from up in Philadelphia, has got the flexibility to do multiple things in the secondary, just like Anthony. Keenan was one that comes from a great program, obviously, at St. Joseph's up in Philadelphia that could have gone a lot of places, but came down here with his mom and dad, took a visit in the summertime on one of the June official visits, had a fantastic time. And I remember driving back, I was on I-20, headed back from Georgia, and he called me and committed. And I think I was right around Lexington, that area where some of the construction starts on I-20. So I can remember being in that where it goes to like one lane and not trying to wreck as you're going through there, because I was so excited about him calling. Emory Floyd, fantastic speed, size, had a lot of teams coming after him at the end, down the stretch right here, trying to get him to change his mind. But going to be a great player here. He's one that had plenty of options and committed to us and stayed committed. Great family. Torian and Clayton and I were in his house, I think, Monday right after the Clemson game. We were over there as well, and great speed, great size. He's going to be a heck of a player here, for us as well. Kawan Banks, I think he's a guy, could do some different things. You may be able to pencil him in there, maybe at that nickel position. With Carlins Patel, leaving, being able to get in there and compete. But another Florida defensive back, love his physicality and the way that he plays as well. And then, Nick from right here in Irmo. I mean, he's one of those guys that we're really excited about. Torian's fighting to get him in the secondary. Clayton's fighting to keep him at linebacker. I think Mike's fighting to try and get him up there where he can rush the passer. And he's a guy that, when Nick came to our camp, this past summer, he was so impressive, just the way that he ran and tested and everything, that we offered him thinking, man, this guy could be a lot of different things, offense, defense, multiple positions, as he continues to grow, and that's exciting. And then we offered him, and you're hoping he doesn't go to a whole lot of different camps where everybody else has a chance to see him as well, because of how impressive he was. So he's another one that I throw in there that I think could, potentially play a lot of different positions on our defense as well. But the good news is we do have guys that we don't just pencil in and say he's absolutely a corner, he's absolutely a safety. I think you've got some position flexibility back there in the secondary, which you need nowadays in college football.
Shane, what did you see out of Spencer your couple of years you were down there in Oklahoma with him? And I'm guessing you said nobody's going to get handed anything. I'm guessing he doesn't enter spring as number one on the depth chart.
Yeah, what I saw from him was wins. That's what I saw. I saw a guy that, he sat behind Jalen Hurts for a year there learning. Came in at the end of the game against LSU in the playoff game when LSU won the national championship and performed well. I saw a guy that we went into the 2020 season and lost, I think, 2 of our first 3 games. We lost at Iowa State, and then we lost to Kansas State at home, which doesn't happen at Oklahoma. And then I saw a guy that didn't let that bother him, came right back. And then we go into the Texas game. Our backs are against the wall. Spencer doesn't play well. Lincoln benches him basically in the first half, puts him back in the second half. We end up winning that game, I think, in 4 overtimes and didn't lose a game the rest of the season and won another Big 12 championship. And then they beat Florida in the Cotton Bowl at the end of the season. So a guy that has faced adversity and has always responded. A guy that was a winner, that has won a lot of football games and has a great confidence about himself. And then this season didn't go the way he expected it to be. You go into the season thinking you're going to be the number 1 draft pick and the Heisman Trophy winner, and you end up not even being the starting quarterback. But he didn't let that dictate the outcome and what was the next step for him. And he's excited about the next chapter for him as well. And then in regards to the spring practice, I'm trying to figure out who's going to take the first rep in the Duke's Mayo Bowl here in a couple weeks. I mean, we'll worry about spring practice when we get to March. But that question's coming too, I'm sure, here one of these. So,
with some of the big moves that were made today, the NIL subject was brought up in some cases. And, of course, I think when that was created, they said it wasn't supposed to be used in recruiting and a factor in recruiting players. Are you seeing that as you make your rounds? Is that starting to be abused and becoming an issue out there? Is it being used to help recruit kids?
It's interesting. I was asked about, we did all these official visits in June where we had, I can't count the number of guys we had on campus, and I meet with every single one of them in my office, unofficial. And honestly, in the entire month of June, Phil, I probably got asked twice about NIL from prospects on campus. Now, I don't know if they weren't going to ask me. Maybe they were asking other people. Maybe they weren't as aware of it at that point. I don't know. As we came down the stretch here, it certainly came up a lot more, with prospects as we got closer to today, in regards to opportunities and what's it look like at South Carolina and what are you doing for your athletes and things like that. So it's certainly more, I don't want to say more prevalent, but it certainly has come up more in the last month or so, last couple of weeks even, than what it did in the entire month of June. And it's the name of the game. I mean, I know what we're legally allowed to do here at South Carolina, and that's what we're doing. I can't speak for other schools and promises that, they make. I mean, frankly, I had parents call me over the weekend wanting to know, what are you going to do for my son from an NIL standpoint? What can you promise us? Well, I can't promise you anything, and I can't set up deals for you. And anybody that tells you that they can, they're lying to you, and they're not being honest. But here's what I can tell you, that we're in a fantastic college town here at the University of South Carolina where there's plenty of opportunities that I'm sure will be available, as our players have shown this year. With what they've been able to do, without a doubt. But I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and sit here and say that it's not a factor, because we've certainly got to make this a place that prospects understand, that they can capitalize on NIL, and whether you agree with the rule or not, it's here, and you've got to learn how to embrace it and maximize it within the rules to help your program. And that's not just football. I mean, I've had conversations with other sports here, other head coaches here at Carolina about how are you doing this, because it's coming up in whatever sport, here on campus.
Shane, Landen Sampson's another one, the other Texas guy in this class. Obviously, I know Justin recruited him a lot, but just what do you guys see from him on tape? And I mean, how realistic do you guys feel like he might be a guy that can compete from day one and be a contributor maybe next year?
Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys here in a few years. You're going to look up and he's going to catch like 1,000,000 balls, in his time here at Carolina, just because he knows how to get open. He's just a football player, and he's really talented and comes from a great program there at South Lake Carroll, and they just had a tough loss last weekend in the playoffs, but just love his competitive spirit, and he believes he's the best player on the field every time that he steps out there. He's got an edge about himself, and that was another one. I mean, he committed to us early, and it's like, he's all the way out in Texas. Now we got to try and hang on to this guy, and we did. And he had plenty of Big 12 schools, coming after him here down the stretch as well. But just a really good football player that understands the game of football, that I think is going to have a, opportunity to have a fantastic career here at Carolina.
Just real quickly, you mentioned obviously you guys from Texas, you got guys from Pennsylvania. I mean, you guys really hit a lot of geography in this class. Mm-hmm. Just as a whole, how much is that something that you guys see translating going forward? Is that sort of a one-off thing? And just, what's that been like piecing together a class from, I think you mentioned 9 different states?
Yeah. I think it's different nowadays because the country's smaller in so many ways, and all these prospects know each other with social media. They're able to communicate a lot easier than what they were able to maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And traveling is going away for schools not as big a deal as maybe it was a few years ago. We always want to start here in the state of South Carolina, for sure, and we always will. Realistically, we're not going to be able to sign 25 guys each year, from the state of South Carolina that can help us win an SEC championship. So we've got to be able to go out into other areas. And I've said it before, I mean, we want to be able to get into the Northeast a little bit more. There's so many prospects up there. If they want to play football in the SEC, it's just as easy to get to Columbia, South Carolina as anywhere in the conference. Come right down I-95 and you're here, basically. So we really want to always hit that, and you see that with being able to sign guys from Delaware and sign guys from Pennsylvania like we did. Florida's always been good to us. North Carolina's always been good to us. Georgia's always been good to us, and it always will. But then being able to utilize the ties that we have with coaches on this staff at other places. Justin Stepp or myself or whoever that have ties from the state of Texas that we utilize to get Peyton Williams and Landen Sampson, or North Carolina or wherever it may be. But we're always going to start right here in South Carolina. But we've got the resources and the place to recruit to that's attractive to a lot of kids from a lot of different states.
I guess sort of on that subject of in-state guys with Xavier, and could you speak to what came together for him and what y'all envision for him in the future as far as position and with Demetrius Watson as well?
Yeah, Xavier, I feel like every Friday night we'd be in the team hotel before a home game or wherever we were, whatever city, before an away game. And I feel like every single Friday around 11 p.m., I would get a text message from the head coach of the team that just played Chapin telling me what an idiot I am that we haven't offered Xavier Short. I mean, honestly, like literally every single Friday, I get my phone, there's Coach so-and-so. You're basically, what are y'all thinking? I don't know. Y'all know more than I do, but you're completely lost if you don't recruit this kid. I don't know what you're doing, but y'all are basically idiots if you don't sign this kid. And he had been in our camp this past summer and was fiercely competitive and did a great job in the camp. And really it got kind of down to early on exactly where is he going to play. And where do you fit him in? I mean, we're taking scholarships at certain number of positions, how many guys we're going to take at each spot and things like that. And honestly, as it got to the end of the season, I just said, you know what? Forget about it. this guy can help us win. And I'll get him here and we'll figure it out. He's a winner. He's a competitor. He's a really good football player. And he's the kind of guy that we want in this program, that 4 years from now you're going to look up and you're going to be glad that we signed him today. So I think that's one. You may see him out there with the receivers. You may see him with the tight ends. You may see him carrying the football. I don't know. I think he's a really good player, period. And we'll find the way for him to help us, for sure. And then Demetrius, same thing, great program down at Fort Dorchester with Coach LaPrade. So Darryl Ware and to carry on, we're constantly, talking about him. And he's one that I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about. And then he came to our camp this summer and just really did a nice job in camp, and just high motor, big upside, loves to fish. Like, he'll send me videos on Sunday if he's gone out in the water and he's caught sharks and everything else. And he's a fascinating guy as well. When we were down at his high school a couple weeks ago, he was showing us videos of all the most recent catches and things like that from being out in the water on Sundays as well. Awesome guy, though, and any time that we can get a young man. I think we got a lot of guys like that, too. South Carolina guys that we signed that maybe weren't necessarily highly recruited, that we see a huge upside in their ability to become players here at a high level in the SEC, and reminds me of a lot of the guys that we signed when I was here before that maybe weren't necessarily household names, highly recruited, that ended up developing and becoming great players. And I think a lot of these guys have those same qualities.
All right, one more. Are you permitted to talk about Kalik yet? Or
I don't think I am yet. But put him in that same category if I was allowed to.
Shayna, you spoke a lot.
Hypothetically speaking, sorry.
Right. You've spoken a lot about culture and family, building the program and all. When you're in the transfer portal, when you kind of have to recognize recruiting from there these days, how much do you have to look at those guys and say, are they going to fit not only talent-wise but culture-wise with the guys we already have? Yeah, you do. That's a huge part of it. And I told our players yesterday, David, that I'm not out here collecting talent. My job is to make our roster better, but making sure I'm bringing in the right people that are going to help us be successful and fit what we want this program to be about down there in that locker room. And whether it be last year with the guys that we brought in as transfers, or whether it be the 2 transfers that we have coming now and whoever else we may add after this day going into next season, they've got to be great people first and foremost that fit what we want to be about. And also officially, Z White and JJ, are they out of the bowl game? JJ, yeah, they haven't been at practice the last few days, so I'll leave it at that. I talked to Z White again today, and you guys know Z White. Z White's quite the character. We had a good conversation today, but they have not been at practice the last few days, and any announcements they want to make about the bowl game, they can make.
Shane, you just made it clear right there, and I know he asked you about from a character standpoint, maybe the day of the Duke Mayo Bowl press conference, but we can go out and say we talked to this source or that source, but I'll just ask you point blank so people can hear it from your mouth. Guy like Spencer Rattler, videos out there when he was 17, 18 years old, might paint a negative portrayal of the kid, might be a little unfair. You've seen the guy, you understand him. What can you tell us about Spencer Rattler and kind of just that narrative that is out there about his character?
Yeah, I don't know who writes the narrative or comes up with the narrative. All I know is what I saw during my time with him at Oklahoma. And I saw a guy that wants to win, that is immensely talented, but comes from a great family. And when we did the virtual visit with him last week, pretty much our entire building was on that call, and so many of them were texting me throughout, or texting me or calling me afterwards, talking about how impressed they were that whatever they thought going in, was the complete opposite, just the way that he handled himself, and that's the Spencer I know, and I think the fact that Stog is coming, Stog's a fantastic young man, and then I think the fact that, I don't know, I doubt you follow many Oklahoma football players on Twitter, but the number of Oklahoma football players that were commenting directly on Twitter about those two guys and how excited they are for them, I think speaks volumes as well. And again, it goes back to what I told our team. If any prospect was not a fit for what we want to be about and what we are about, I'm not gonna bring them here. But I know Spencer Rattler and I know Austin Stogner, and I'm excited for them to get around our players.
Shane, different parts of the country right now are going through increased COVID situations. Are you reminding the guys? Are you upping awareness perhaps as we get into the winter months where maybe infections can be a little bit more widespread?
I'd be lying to you if I said that I had spent a lot of time talking to them about COVID the last 24 hours. I don't want to sit here and tell you the politically correct answer and all that. I haven't, but we will. I mean, George Wynn does a great job of communicating with our players about that, whether it be COVID shots, booster shots, flu shots, what's going on in the world as well. So we're following protocols that we need to follow, and constantly making our guys aware of things, and I think our guys are as well. I mean, all they got to do is turn on the TV and see what's going on in the NFL right now and things like that, and hear about it. And we certainly need everybody when we go to Charlotte and play in that game in a couple weeks, and need to make sure we're doing our part to make that happen.
What trait or two do you have to see in an offensive lineman in order to want to recruit that offensive lineman? And if you could touch on the three that you signed here.
Yeah, obviously you got to have size and things like that for sure. But I think the athleticism, and then the overall toughness, and I know that's what we have in these guys. You talk about Grayson Maines, great size, has that toughness, has that physicality that you're looking for from an offensive line standpoint. And Grayson, committed to it. I must be something about I-20 because I'm thinking about it. Grayson called and committed to me when I was on I-20, headed to Georgia one day as well. So I think that's two commitments with him and Keenan, that I was on I-20 somewhere around the state line when they called me. One on the state line and one in Lexington. But great physicality. Case and Henry, just nasty and tough. I mean, there's the play that stands out with Kaysen. I think it was in his spring game this past year, and just his physicality and mindset to finish plays. He had a play where he basically is on one side of the field and runs all the way across the field and blocks a guy like on the sideline, on the opposite sideline. He's just relentless, and love the way that he plays. He's mean in a good way, and great size as well. I mean, he's every bit of 6'6", and could still be growing. And then Ryan Brubaker, he's one great we talk about athleticism. I mean, this guy's a great athlete. His dad was a college athlete, or college football player, and was a great player. And Brew is super athletic. The very first time I saw him, I was sitting in my office, and I think it was Coach Satterfield came in my office. He's like, "You got to come here, come see this." And I go in the offensive staff room back in the springtime, and they're watching video. And when I walk in, it's a swim meet that they're watching, and it's Brubaker racing in the swim meet, and it's like one of the most fantastic races I've ever seen in a pool, where it's like, is he really going to win this thing? And the whole room sitting there like cheering for Brubaker to finish this thing, because it's such a competitive and spirited race. And then they finished the race, and I'm like, why in the heck are we watching a swim meet? And they're like, this guy's the guy that we're recruiting as an offensive tackle. And I can honestly say that's the first, that you got an offensive tackle that's a competitive swimmer that I've been around at least. But I think it's a great testament. It shows what kind of athlete he is, and is growing. And that whole crew right there, they committed, this summer. Kaysen called and committed while I was at an official visit, on an official visit, dinner here. I remember Brubaker calling and committing to me. I was in the Atlanta airport getting ready to go on a trip, and then we talked about Grayson. So all those guys were in the springtime, early summer. They bonded, they stayed together, and they'll form a great foundation for the next group of offensive linemen that we have coming here.
Shane, you'll have to forgive me, but how much room is left in the 2022 class, and with whatever that number is, what is the approach? Is it transfer portal guys? Is it high school guys? How much of a combination of the two you would anticipate in terms of the approach to fill the remaining spots?
Yeah, as far as spots remaining, I feel like it changes every day. So get back to me on that one. I mean, that's constantly in flux, and I don't mean to be like sarcastic. It is, though. I mean, as guys are, whether it be NFL decisions that our players have to make, guys that may feel like a start for them somewhere else is better. And what they're looking for, there's a lot of different things that change kind of where we are. We've got a lot of flexibility going forward. I'll say that, from a scholarship number standpoint, it's not something that we all of a sudden just started looking at today. I mean, we've been thinking about, okay, what's our roster numbers going to be going back to the summertime based on if these guys sign that we think they're going to sign, what happens and what's it going to look like. And then going forward, Corey, I think it would be a combination of things. Certainly, we'll look to the transfer portal if a young man's in there that can help us and fits what we're about as a program. And then there's also guys that we have been recruiting all along that even came on official visits this summer that did not sign today, that we're still recruiting at certain positions as well. So it kind of reminds me, I think last year, when we had this signing day press conference, I'm standing up here and I didn't have a clue about these guys y'all are asking me about last year at this time, other than the video I had watched and a couple phone conversations because I hadn't been involved in their recruiting. And I want to say it was 9 or 10 guys that we signed last year, which allowed us to go into January and beyond to continue to add to the roster. And we're not quite at that point, right now with numbers, but we're certainly flexible enough to continue to add to this roster as we go forward.
Just some more individual guys. See if you could talk about DeAndre Martin, Westmoreland, Brian Thomas. I think those are.
Yeah. Westmoreland was committed to Georgia early on and decided that this is where he wanted to be. I think he's got a lot of position flexibility. You guys were asking about corner, safety, all that. I mean, Westmoreland's a guy that I think inside linebacker, edge with Coach Peterson. He's got a great ability to rush the passer and just a great personality and just plays really, really hard and has a lot of position flexibility there, in our front seven. Brian Thomas, same thing, was here for a camp this summer. Dad obviously was a great football player in his own right. And like what Brian's about, was here this summer, came back on an official visit early, and then committed during the season as well. And then DeAndre is one that, man, we're all really excited about his potential as well. He's a guy. It's an amazing story when he gets here and you guys have a chance to talk to him, just the way that his body has grown in the last couple of years. He was literally 6'5" and every bit of 290, and he was literally a 230-pound receiver like a year and a half ago. And he's just went to Life Christian Academy as a receiver and grew 8, whatever. And his dad tells the story that he dropped him off at Life Christian Academy and came back a month or 2 months later and was like, "What you been doing?" Because he had grown so much. But you see that athleticism as a receiver shows in his ability to rush the passer. He was at our camp, and I remember going out in the football stadium back in June at camp, and they're telling me that this guy from Durham, North Carolina, that goes to high school in Virginia is out here just killing everybody. And I go out there and watch it, and he was. And just the joy that he took in dominating every single one-on-one rep that he had out there on the field was impressive. And then come to find out that he'd only been playing defensive line at that point for like a month. So I think he's got a big upside, great personality. You guys are going to love him as an interview when you get him in here. But really, really, really excited about his potential up front, and with all those guys as well. That we knew that up front was a major need for us, with JJ most likely leaving, as we knew that going into the season, Aaron Sterling leaving, Jabari Ellis leaving, Zach Pickens being an older guy, that Jordan Strawn coming in and being an older guy, that was a position that we needed to, MJ Webb being an older guy that we needed, Devontae Davis that we needed to overhaul and get some guys in here and feel like we have along the defensive line with Coach Lindsey's group and Coach Peterson's group.
Oh, gee. So in Ben's story the other day, he quoted the quarterback coach for Rattler as talking about Marcus Satterfield and the pro package, the pro offense that he wants to run here. And you've seen Rattler, of course, up close and personal. You see a good fit, and will this give Satterfield a chance to really kind of show what he's trying to do with his offense?
I think that Spencer certainly wanted to get involved or get in the middle of a offense that had, nothing against the Oklahoma offense. Obviously, it's record-setting everything that they've done, but I don't know how many teams in the NFL are using Lincoln Riley's terminology and things like that. I would say zero. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury out in Arizona has aspects of it. I don't know. But I think for Spencer, it was very appealing that to be able to get into a system that has a little bit more NFL terminology, protections, route concepts, things like that, or at least maybe along the same language that other NFL teams are using. Not to be confused that he wanted to get into a pro-style offense that's too complicated to learn. Nobody said that. He wanted to get into an offense that is a little bit more NFL-ish from terminology and things like that, that's also simple enough for him to learn and go execute in a short time once he gets here and goes into spring practice. All right, thanks, guys.